CBC. The beginning, really interesting. Now, how do you view sort of multidisciplinary design optimization analysis? We see a lot of these tools are piloted by the architect, and the design is piloted by the architect. How much input does a mechanical consultant have on the final design of the building? Will you know, is there an optimization process that you would sort of pursue or actually have a dialogue, the collaboration?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. I mean, we all say that we work in an integrated design process, and I've been in projects where this is the thing you flag, but the reality is that we all go back to our offices and we work, and then we meet every week or so around the table. And I think that what we find is because I'm always on the design side, that we can actually have a better discussion and more productive if I can convince the project architect or to actually explore those as design driver. Because then when the mechanical engineers come to the table and say, no, you cannot have 99% glazing on your building, well, we've already been there. We're already kind of looked at the implication of this, and it just starts to kind of really, it makes the architect or the designer just that much more receptive to the collaborative process. So that's one great aspect. And I think often those projects go really, really fast. And the architects, obviously, often as a prime consultant, will drive the boat, so to speak. But sometimes the boat doesn't get driven in the right direction, and that's costly to kind of go back. And so if we can embed some of that sustainable design knowledge right away, it just makes the process that much smoother. So.
Hi, Michel. I've actually got two questions.
Yeah.
First question, which I forgot, so I'll go to the second question. Sketchup. Now, Sketchup was recently bought and sold by Google and bought by Trimble. Do you see that as a positive or a negative?
I think it's going to be a positive because we love SketchUp, and most architects do, because it's such an intuitive design tool. But it did provide a lot of challenges to be able to use, let's say for IES, which is one of the key energy modeling software used by many of the consultants we use. They have developed a SketchUp plugin where you could actually take your simplified SketchUp model, bring it into IES, but it was not very streamlined as a process. And so basically, in a nutshell, like it cannot really be worse, or I can only see it as an improvement, because SketchUp, it was not necessarily designed for that, but now it kind of caught up to the reality, and now I think that move will only help that kind of direction that it will take.
Okay, and I just remembered my first question. Rendering, you mentioned 3ds Max as a rendering tool. Have you found any good rendering plugins for SketchUp?
Yes. There's Podium that we use that's extremely good for SketchUp rendering. And then there's another one which the name escapes me. Arcadia, yeah. It's not that one that we use, but maybe like your first question, it will come back to me in a minute. But certainly Podium is the one that we use a lot, and quite satisfied with it.
Thank you.
When you're creating a model in Revit, is there a difference when the output is going to be just for doing an actual GBXML out versus actually a construction document? Because we found that on our side, we would use GBXML to bring it into Train Trace or HAP or something, and there's really not an easy way of doing that, and we find that creating a model for the purposes of just doing an energy analysis is a lot more simpler than, let's say, a construction document.
Yes, no, that's a very good point. And so, and I would agree with that process all the way, 100%. The way that our firm works is that we are often consultant to an architectural firm and so forth. So we actually do our own model that is a simplified version of the construction model. Because if the model is the complexity of the pharmacy building and you're trying to run a Cotec daylight analysis, it's going to blow up. So it's really about the simplification of the model for the task that needs. And so what we end up doing is taking the model, stripping it down, sometimes rebuilding certain elements that are too faceted or too complex, or just basically it's a big edit purge process.
Essentially, you're remodeling the whole model to get the GBX.
Well, some firms that I've worked with are, because they've been there, they actually understand, so they use families and classes that can be, it's designed to be stripped as opposed to just designed to function for the main purpose of what we saw in the previous presentation, which is conflict, management and all that. But that would be my advice for the big firms who are doing that kind of complex coordination, which is tremendously helpful, obviously. But if you can set up a system where you have families that I can actually, you design your Revit model to be stripped, and then you can then simplify that process greatly when you try to do your lead documentation, for example, or any kind of daylight simulation or energy simulation. Because you don't need a wall, you just need a plane that you really want your model to be simplified.